Hello. Today's lecture is on ceramics. It is going to be a longer lecture, so hang in there. It would be long in person, and it's going to be long online. I have broken the lecture videos into 4 parts to make your life easier, hopefully. Pause the videos as needed. Take breaks. The first part is just an introduction to ceramics. Then, in sequence, I'll cover the technological, functional, and decorative aspects of ceramics. I use a lot of Creative Commons images without image provenience in this lecture, so I suspect some of the ceramics come from burial contexts. Email me or contact me if that's an issue and we'll work something out. By the end of all the parts of this lecture, you will see what ceramic analysis entails. You will be able to analyze ceramic sherds yourself. That is, you will be able to identify what sort of vessel a sherd comes from and what that vessel was used for, among other things. You will be prepared to apply what you learned to your lab and to future fieldwork. That includes sorting sherds according to certain attributes and evaluating ceramic data. Ceramics are composites. That is, ceramics are combinations of more than one material. As a class of archaeological material, ceramics are considered to be anything made from fired clay. In this sense, there are 3 essential ingredients to making a ceramic: clay, water, and fire. In reality, ceramists, that is, people who make ceramics, ceramicists are people who study ceramics. In reality, ceramists usually use other ingredients as well. Typically, other ingredients include inorganic, aplastic, or non-plastic minerals, rocks, sand, or organic material, dung, grass, hay. These materials moderate or temper the plasticity, malleability, and elasticity of clay. You don't want your clay to be so elastic that it cannot hold its shape when you have formed something from it. Ceramic analysis involves the study of any fired clay-based objects, including figurines, tiles, smoking pipes, bricks, and pottery vessels, bowls, jars, plates, all sorts of pots and containers. This lecture and the following lectures and the lab will focus on pottery vessels, that is, containers. Alongside lithics, ceramics are one of the most abundant artifacts found on archaeological sites. Ceramics were in common use for much of human history. While you can sometimes find whole vessels, more often you find sherds, or ceramic vessel fragments. Side note, as an archaeologist, you have got to say sherds, not shards. Shards are glass fragments. Sometimes you will see shards describing ceramic fragments in British or European publications, and certainly you will see shards in publications from non-archaeologists. Anyways, ceramics are also useful because they are durable. They're abundant and they're durable. These are great qualities for getting information about people from the past. Yes, ceramics are brittle and break, but the pieces will retain their shape and form, and they do not disintegrate unless fired at extremely low temperatures or exposed to intense mechanical and chemical weathering. But even then, ceramics usually don't disappear, unlike perishable materials. Ceramics are useful for many purposes, so there's a lot of reasons to study ceramics. Remember, we're not interested in the pots as themselves being this object. We're interested in whatever object of study as an archaeologist is looking at, they're interested in it because of what it tells us about people. So remember, it always goes back to the people. So one way in which ceramics are very useful is relative chronologies. Ceramics can be the basis of relative chronologies. Here's an example of how cooking pots from the Mesa Verde region help to generally tell time periods. The oldest example, Chapin Gray, is the least elaborated on its surface. And as you move to the right through time, you get all the way to Makos corrugated, which is fully corrugated and indented over its entire surface. So older to younger. That's just one example. Ceramics can also tell you what activities occurred at a site. For example, if a Greco-Roman site has lots of amphorae or amphorae, which were used for storing wine, then you know people had fun at that site. Haha, that's a joke. You know that people drink wine at the site. Ceramics are also an important indicator worldwide for the transition from hunting and gathering to agriculture. That is, ceramics tend to appear around the same time as people begin to cultivate, process, and store plants. The relationship between sedentism and ceramics is not cut and dry, though. In the historic period Southwest, Navajo people practiced a mobile lifeway and a mixed economy involving hunting, horticulture, and eventually pastoralism. And they also made pottery. The Japanese Jomon culture hunted, gathered, and moved around a lot, but also made and used ceramics. Residue analysis of ceramics can further demonstrate site activities. Residue analysis of Jomon pottery shows it was used to process fish. Archaeologists also use ceramics to distinguish social identities or cultures. The bell beaker complex and the corded ware culture are old world, primarily European, archaeological horizons or phenomena named specifically for pottery types featuring cord-like impressions. These complexes and cultures are still highly debated, but it is important to note that our understanding of these cultural identities is tightly linked to the pottery. Oops. In the New World, colonaware was a plain, hand-built, open-fired pottery type made through African and Native American techniques, but frequently exhibiting European forms. Colonaware has multiple ethnic and cultural origins. Some colonial America archaeologists prefer more precise local type names, but this general sort of pottery is present both at plantation sites and maroon sites, places to which African runaway slaves escaped to establish their own communities apart from white European and American enslavers. I need to give a bit more background on how ceramics are produced before you can complete the lab. We will touch on the technological, functional, and decorative aspects of pottery, which all interconnect heavily. So you're going to understand how ceramics are produced, why they were produced, and what they were used for once they were produced, and how they were decorated. So let's think about these three types of attributes. So pottery analysis includes identifying these three types of attributes, and technological is usually considered to be the sort of raw materials. You're going to think about what raw materials are being used to make ceramics, and you're going to ask yourself, what is the manufacturing method used to make a piece of pottery? In this case, some sort of vessel. Functional. What is the function of a particular vessel? Is it a cooking pot, serving vessel, a bowl, a jar, a storage vessel? And finally, decorative. What are the decorative qualities of a vessel? How have potters decorated their pots? So this is the end of this introduction, and next up, you're gonna look at the technological aspects and attributes involved in ceramic analysis.